Ethan Rhodes stepped out of the shuttle with slow, careful steps. The metal ramp extended under his boots, connecting him to the surface of the unknown planet. His helmet visor slid down smoothly, scanning the atmosphere. A gentle beep confirmed that the air was clean enough to breathe, but Ethan kept his helmet on. It was his first day on this world, and he did not want to take risks. The planet's official name was Lunaris 4, but most humans called it Blue Eden because of the endless lakes and shining forests seen from orbit. Ethan's small team from the exploration agency had landed a few kilometers away, setting up a research base near a safe river. Ethan, however, wanted to explore farther and collect early wildlife data. He walked alone through tall grass that reached his knees. It smelled fresh like early morning rain. Ethan was only 25, a new explorer, and wanted to prove he could handle missions on his own. His suit displayed temperature, oxygen levels, and distance from the base. Everything looked normal. Birds with crystal-shaped wings flew overhead, sparkling under the soft sunlight. Their gentle chirping sounds echoed like tiny bells. Ethan paused to record them in his digital notebook. "This place is beautiful," he whispered to himself. His voice sounded calm, but his heart was excited. He had trained for years to see planets like this. As he moved deeper into the forest, he noticed trees with glowing vines wrapped around their trunks. When the vines sensed movement, they dimmed slightly as if shy. Strange insects with butterfly wings danced near blue flowers. The entire forest felt alive but peaceful. After 30 minutes, Ethan heard rustling in the bushes. He froze. His hands gently touched the laser cutter on his belt. Not a weapon, just a survival tool. The rustling grew louder. Leaves shook. Then something small and furry jumped out. Ethan's eyes widened. The creature stood only up to his waist. It had soft gray fur, large round ears, and bright amber eyes that reflected light like polished gold. It blinked at him quietly, tilting its head. Ethan slowly lowered his hand, realizing it was not dangerous. "Hello there," he said softly. Another one appeared from the bushes. Then another. Soon 5 of them stood around him, watching curiously. They held small fruits in their hands and sniffed the air near him. Their noses twitched, making them look adorable. Ethan laughed nervously. "You must be locals," he scanned them. His visor showed basic readings. Heart rate normal, no toxic signals, no hostile behavior. They seemed harmless. The creatures circled him gently, making soft humming noises. One stretched its little arm and touched Ethan's boot. It felt warm. "Are you pets?" Ethan asked, not expecting an answer. He saw small metal tags tied around their necks like collars. That convinced him. They must belong to some advanced alien race living somewhere else on the planet. Maybe the creatures worked like helpers or house animals. He wrote notes quickly. Friendly behavior. Group movement. Possible domesticated species. Ethan gave them a nutrient bar from his backpack. Their eyes widened and they quickly shared it carefully, each taking small bites. They seemed to respect sharing rules. "That's interesting," Ethan whispered. He recorded more notes. Follow simple sharing behavior. Suggests training. One creature pointed toward a forest path. Its finger was short but very clear. It looked like it wanted Ethan to follow. Ethan's eyebrows raised. "You want me to go with you?" The creature nodded. Ethan blinked twice. He did not expect such an intelligent reaction. Still, he followed them carefully, staying alert. The path led to a clearing with fresh water. The creatures filled small wooden cups and placed them on shaped stones like an organized circle. It almost looked like a tiny picnic site. Ethan kneeled near the water stream and saw 3 more creatures arriving, carrying different colored fruits. They neatly placed them around the same shaped stones. "That's very organized," he muttered. He wrote another note. High social cooperation. Food gathering habits. The creatures watched Ethan drink filtered water from his suit. They copied his hand motion even though they did not need to. It almost seemed like they were studying him. After an hour, Ethan waved goodbye and returned to his rover. The creatures followed him to the vehicle, then sat down quietly, watching him drive away. Back at the research base, Ethan found his teammates working on solar power panels. Commander Elise, a tall woman with short hair, noticed his excited face. "You look like you found something interesting," she said. Ethan nodded quickly. "Small furry creatures. They seem domesticated." Elise raised an eyebrow. "Domesticated by who?" "I'm not sure, but they have collars. They gather food together. They also guided me to water." Elise crossed her arms thoughtfully. "And they followed your movement?" Yes, Ethan said. They watch everything carefully, Elise smiled. Harmless wildlife. We expected that. Many planets have friendly animals. Ethan tried to explain everything, but Elise gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Explore more tomorrow. For now, help with camp setup. Ethan nodded, though he felt a little disappointed. He wanted someone to understand the strange intelligence in those creatures. Night arrived slowly. The sky of Blue Eden turned violet, then deep blue with thousands of tiny stars. The moon's 3 small glowing spheres moved across the sky like drifting pearls. Ethan sat outside his tent drinking warm tea. Suddenly he heard soft footsteps. He turned and jumped slightly. The same furry creatures from earlier stood near the camp, watching quietly. They did not enter the camp's boundary, as if respecting invisible rules. Their eyes reflected the campfire light gently. They hummed the same deep sound, like a whispering song. Ethan smiled softly. You followed me home? The creatures sat in a straight line, patiently waiting. It was unusual behavior for wild animals. Ethan dropped a fruit snack packet toward them. They picked it and shared equally again. You are very polite, he whispered. When the camp quieted and everyone slept, Ethan stayed awake a little longer, observing them. He noticed something new. When one creature looked toward the trees, the others followed its gaze at the exact same moment. It is like they share thoughts, he whispered to himself. He wrote more notes before sleeping. Possible hive-like awareness. Strong group communication. The next morning, Ethan woke early and returned to the forest. The creatures were already waiting near the entrance, as if they expected him. They guided him again, this time to a clearing with carvings on tree bark. The carvings formed shapes that looked like stories. Creatures building houses, helping each other, living in peace. Ethan touched the carvings gently. They were clean and detailed. This is art, he breathed. Animals did not carve art. Art meant culture. One creature tapped its chest softly, and then tapped the tree carving. Ethan understood their gesture. They made this. You are not just pets, Ethan whispered. You think. You create. A chill ran down his spine. He tried speaking gently. Do you live here alone? Is there a city somewhere? Who tags your collars? They only blinked in silence. Suddenly a loud noise echoed through the forest. Birds flew away rapidly. The creatures hurried around Ethan, forming a small circle like they were protecting him. Ethan's heart raced. What's happening? The noise faded and everything became silent. The creatures released their circle and looked relieved. One creature placed a paw on Ethan's shin, calming him, as if saying everything was fine now. Ethan smiled nervously. You are full of surprises. Before leaving, one creature gently tapped Ethan's notebook screen. It repeated the sound of the electronic beep perfectly. Ethan was speechless. You learned that from me? They nodded. Ethan's mind started to spin. Learning human behavior that fast was not normal. He returned to camp again at sunset. Commander Elise listened but shook her head. Observing doesn't prove intelligence, she said kindly. They are harmless, Ethan sighed, but he did not argue. Something inside him whispered that there was more. That night, while Ethan wrote more observations, something unexpected happened. He saw movement near the command tent. It was one of the creatures quietly picking up a dropped wrench tool. It inspected it like a curious child. It tried to imitate Elise's twisting motion, copying what it saw earlier in the day. Ethan stared in amazement. You watch us, he whispered softly, and learn. The creature froze, looked at Ethan, then placed the wrench back exactly where it was found. Then it ran quietly into the forest. Ethan's heartbeat raced. These creatures were not simple pets. They were studying humans carefully. When he returned to his tent, he looked toward the forest line. Many shining amber eyes were watching him, not hostile, just curious, Ethan whispered to himself. They understand more than we think. He laid down, unable to sleep, his mind filled with questions. Who trained them? Why did they act silent? Were they hiding something deeper? But Ethan did not know the truth yet. He only wondered, unaware that soon one of them would speak his language. Morning sunlight gently touched the camp on Blue Eden. The river nearby reflected golden light across the ground like slow-moving fire. Most of the research team was busy checking power cells and water filters, but Ethan was already prepared to enter the forest again. His curiosity was stronger than sleep. He walked toward Commander Elise with his helmet under his arm. I want to continue my wildlife study, he said politely. Elise nodded. Stay within your tracker range, and don't bring any creatures back to camp. We don't know what diseases they might carry. I understand, Ethan replied. Deep inside, he wondered if the creatures were far cleaner than humans assumed. He turned on his rover engine and drove along the dirt trail. Tall grass parted around the wheels, bending like welcoming hands. The forest smelled like pine mixed with sweet fruit. Ethan parked near the clearing and stepped out. The creatures were already there. 7 of them this time. They sat in a perfect semicircle, facing the direction Ethan usually came from. Their eyes glowed warmly when they saw him. You were waiting for me, Ethan whispered. They hummed softly. A calm sound like distant drums. One creature approached slowly and handed Ethan a round blue fruit. Ethan smiled, but he kept it in a sealed pouch. He remembered safety protocols. The creature nodded as if it understood his caution. That surprised him even more. He started walking deeper into the forest, and the creatures followed quietly, keeping the same distance between them and Ethan. Their steps were silent, almost like trained scouts. Ethan turned suddenly, testing them. The creatures stopped instantly, copying his posture. He raised his hand. They raised theirs. He scratched his head. They did the same. Interesting, he whispered, recording a new note. They mirror behavior, possibly studying. As he continued deeper, he looked around. The forest here was denser. Leaves covered the ground like thick carpets. Insects crawled on tree bark. And if Ethan listened closely, he could hear tiny whispers of wind flowing through twisted roots. Then something new caught his attention. There were smooth stones arranged in long, straight lines on the ground. No random creature would do that. They pointed south, deeper into unknown territory. Ethan kneeled and touched the stones. This is planning, he said softly. The creatures watched him, but they made no sound. He followed the stone path slowly. After a few minutes, they reached a small open area where he found tiny wooden objects laid out neatly. A round shape, a spiral, a star, and 2 triangles. Their edges were smooth like they were cut using tools. Ethan gently picked one up. Did you make this? He asked them. They stared back silently. One creature walked forward and tapped the wooden star twice, then tapped Ethan's notebook screen once. Ethan's eyes widened. You want me to record? The creature nodded. This was not animal behavior. This was communication. He quickly wrote artistic shapes. Intention to teach or inform. Behavior suggests higher IQ. The creatures relaxed once he finished writing. Ethan noticed another detail. Each creature had a tiny mark burned into its collar. The mark looked like a circle with 3 short lines sticking upward. He zoomed in with his visor. Maybe a symbol of ownership, he thought. But if they were owned, where were their masters? As he observed more carvings, a loud electronic chime sounded from his suit. It was his base. At least to Ethan, status check. I'm fine, Ethan replied. Just collecting data. Good, return by sunset. A storm might pass near your area. Understood. The creatures watched Ethan speak. Their eyes followed his mouth movements carefully. They understood more than he wanted to believe. Around midday, Ethan decided to rest under a large tree. The creatures sat around him like small guards. Their quiet presence felt comforting. He drank from his water bottle while studying them. One creature picked up a leaf and folded it slowly into a shape that almost resembled Ethan's visor. Then it showed it to him. The tiny imitation was surprisingly accurate. Ethan gasped. You copy objects too? The creature nodded. The others hummed proudly. This is advanced observation, Ethan whispered. He scanned the leaf shape again. One creature suddenly looked at the sky, sniffing the air. Then all creatures alerted together, turning toward the same direction. Their humming became faster, like a warning signal. What's wrong? Ethan stood up. They pointed at the sky. Clouds were moving strangely, swirling like smoke rings. Something flashed inside them, metal maybe. A sound followed, distant but sharp like engines. Ethan stared. Is that a ship? The creatures looked nervous but did not run. They formed a protective circle around Ethan again, just like yesterday. It's okay, he whispered gently. I'm not afraid. But deep down he was. After a few minutes, the clouds calmed and the sound faded away. The creatures relaxed but slowly, as if expecting more. Ethan wondered. Were they hiding from something?
He needed more answers. He continued onward, guided by the stone path until he found something new. A thin, smooth wall built from polished wood.
It curved like a shield around a cluster of trees. Ethan walked closer. The wood was treated with a shiny resin, resistant to rain. Carvings decorated the surface, small spirals, tiny stick figures holding hands, circles surrounding them like protection. "These are history records," Ethan whispered. "Story walls." One creature touched a carving showing tall figures looking down at furry creatures. The tall figures had long limbs and sharp helmets. The little creature then shivered. Ethan frowned. Were those invaders? They did not speak, but their fearful silence answered enough. Ethan recorded. Past threat. Possible forced labor history. The creatures watched him write as if reviewing his accuracy. Hours passed. Ethan ate his lunch bar and offered some crumbs. They shared them carefully as always. Their sharing rules never broke, not once. That alone showed deep social discipline. Later, as Ethan observed the smaller creatures playing, something struck him. They were not playing randomly. They arranged sticks into patterns. They repeated sequences. They gently corrected the younger ones when a stick fell out of alignment. "This is teaching," Ethan breathed. He filmed everything. As afternoon light dimmed slightly behind leaves, Ethan tried something bold. He picked up 3 sticks and placed them in a triangle. Then he pointed to the wooden shapes he saw earlier. The creatures froze. They stared at his triangle. Then one creature walked forward and rearranged his sticks into a more perfect balanced shape. Equal sides, equal angles. Ethan felt chills run down his back. "You understand geometry?" The creature nodded slowly. This was impossible for simple animals. Suddenly, one creature pointed at his backpack. Ethan blinked. He unzipped it carefully. The creature reached inside and tapped his digital map viewer gently. Then it stepped back. "You want me to open the map?" The creature nodded. Ethan activated the hologram projection. A mini 3D map of the forest floated in the air like blue mist. The creatures gazed at it with wide eyes. One creature stepped forward and pointed to a location far south. Its finger pressed the hologram repeatedly. "You want me to go there?" The group nodded. This was getting strange. Why direct his journey? Why now? But he trusted his instincts. "Tomorrow," Ethan promised. "I'll explore that area." The creatures hummed happily. The sun started sinking. Ethan knew he had to return. He packed his equipment and turned back to the camp. The creatures followed at a safe distance, stopping near the forest entrance like last time. Ethan waved. "Good night," they hummed softly as the sky turned purple. Back at camp, Ethan excitedly shared his findings. Commander Elise frowned. "They rearranged sticks?" "Ethan, maybe you are giving them too much credit. Many animals can mimic simple behavior." "It wasn't simple," Ethan insisted. "It was perfect geometry." Another researcher, Dr. Harris, adjusted his glasses. "Coincidence, perhaps." "You didn't see what I saw," Ethan replied softly. Elise sighed. "We need proof. Hard evidence." Ethan raised his camera. "I recorded everything," Elise nodded. "Then we'll review it tonight." As the team gathered around the monitor, the room fell silent. They watched the creatures arrange sticks, share food, and correct mistakes of younger ones. Dr. Harris leaned closer. "That's teaching behavior." Elise's expression changed. She looked thoughtful now, not dismissive. But then something else caught their attention. On the video, one creature glanced directly at Ethan's camera lens and tapped its own collar. Slowly, it pointed to the corridor behind Ethan's tent. The entire room went quiet. It was telling him something. Elise nodded slowly. "Tomorrow you go southeast. But take careful notes," Ethan swallowed. "I already promised them I would." Night arrived late. As Ethan walked back to his tent, he felt eyes watching him again. He turned softly. More of the creatures stood among the trees, maybe 10 this time. Their eyes reflected the moonlight like mellow lanterns. Ethan whispered, "You're always watching." They did not move. They did not blink. They just observed, like silent guards. Ethan turned away, pretending not to feel nervous. Inside his tent, he studied his map viewer again. The south area was uncharted. Thick forest, deep valleys. Unknown signals. Why did they want him there? He lay down slowly. His eyes felt heavy. Before sleep claimed him, he glanced outside. All the creatures were still there, quietly making sure no harm reached him. Their humming floated softly on the night wind, and Ethan realized something new. They weren't watching him. They were watching everything around him like protectors, guardians, and he wondered, what are they protecting him from? Tomorrow would answer. A soft alarm beeped inside Ethan's tent as dawn arrived. The young explorer blinked awake, feeling the cool air of Blue Eden around him. Outside, the forest greeted him with quiet birdsongs and rustling leaves. He dressed quickly, slipping on his boots and securing his utility belt. Today, he would explore the southern zone, the area the creatures pointed to yesterday. Stepping outside, Ethan noticed them immediately. 8 furry creatures stood at the edge of the camp waiting silently. Their amber eyes glowed gently in the morning light. When they saw Ethan, they nodded as if greeting him. "You never fail to surprise me," Ethan said softly. Commander Elise stood near the rover, arms folded. She stared at the creatures curiously. After watching the video yesterday, her attitude had changed. She looked more cautious now. "They came again," she whispered. "They follow me everywhere," Ethan answered. Elise exhaled slowly. "Stay safe. And record everything," Ethan nodded. He climbed into his rover and the creatures ran ahead of him, guiding the way. They moved effortlessly between trees, their steps silent. The drive was longer today. The forest grew denser the farther he traveled. Leaves brushed against the rover's sides, leaving thin lines of green. Strange insects buzzed overhead, their wings sparkling like tiny mirrors. After nearly an hour, Ethan reached an area where the path became too narrow. He parked and continued on foot. The creatures led him deeper, weaving through clusters of tall blue flowers and thick vines. Ethan checked his map viewer. "This area isn't on our charts." The creatures paused near a tree shaped like a spiral, then pointed southeast. Ethan followed, recording every detail. After 30 more minutes, they reached a large clearing. The sunlight seemed brighter here, reflecting off smooth stones arranged in circles. At the center stood a wooden platform, carved with careful detail. Around it, small huts rested beneath large leaves, almost hidden. Ethan's breath caught. "A village," he whispered. The creatures looked at him with serious eyes. Their playful nature from earlier days had vanished. They motioned for him to stay low and quiet. Ethan crouched. More creatures emerged from behind huts and trees. They were slightly taller, with darker fur. They carried wooden poles shaped like spears, not sharp but strong enough for defense. These must be the Guardians. They studied Ethan without fear. Then one of them tapped its collar twice. The symbol on their tags glowed faintly. What does that mean? Ethan wondered. The first creature he met stepped forward. It lifted its arm slowly, showing Ethan the tag again. Ethan touched it gently. The surface felt smooth, not metal. It pulsed like living material. Suddenly, a loud humming filled the clearing. Ethan looked up. A floating drone hovered above the trees. Its round body reflected sunlight like a mirror. Blue Eden had been quiet until now. A drone meant manufactured technology. The Guardians reacted instantly. They formed a protective barrier around Ethan, humming louder. Their humming vibrated the ground slightly. The drone scanned the area with a thin white beam. Ethan ducked behind a tree, recording everything the device did. After a moment, the drone flew away. Ethan stood slowly. Someone else is watching this planet. The Guardians relaxed only after the drone disappeared. Ethan shivered. That was not one of ours. He turned to the creatures. "Are you hiding from them?" The smallest creature nodded. Ethan's heart raced. Things were much more dangerous than he thought. One of the Guardians motioned for Ethan to follow deeper into the village. They walked past carved wood art, woven baskets, and small stone bowls filled with glowing seeds. Ethan noticed the creatures taught their young ones to shape wood and arrange colored stones into patterns. It looked beautiful, peaceful, and so very organized. A larger hut stood at the center. The Guardian gestured Ethan inside. The hut smelled like sweet herbs. Inside, the walls were decorated with paintings, circles, spirals, tall figures, small figures, stars, and a large tree symbol. Ethan followed the art with his finger. It told a story. Tall aliens arrived long ago. They tried to take the small creatures away. The small creatures acted weak and silent, tricking them. When the tall aliens became careless, the small creatures escaped and hid deeper in the forest. "So you pretend to be simple," Ethan whispered. "To stay safe." He suddenly understood the colors. They were not symbols of ownership. They were reminders, memories of a time when someone tried to control them. Ethan recorded, "They hide intelligence to avoid capture." Silent survival strategy. A rustle behind him made Ethan turn. Another creature entered the hut. It was older, with lighter fur. Its eyes were calmer, wiser. It carried a carved staff decorated with leaf shapes. The younger ones lowered their heads respectfully. "This must be their elder," Ethan whispered. The elder studied him. Then it tapped Ethan's chest gently, right above his heart. Next, it tapped its own head. Ethan frowned.
Heart and mind?
The elder nodded slowly, then pointed outside toward the sky. "You are saying, 'Be careful'?" The elder hummed a long, sorrowful sound. Ethan stepped back. Fear crept into his bones. Something was coming, something the creatures feared greatly. Suddenly, a sharp mechanical sound echoed again above the forest. Another drone, this time closer. The guardians rushed outside. Ethan followed quickly. The drone hovered lower, scanning faster. It spotted movement and alarmed. Bright lights flashed across the clearing. The creatures responded with coordinated energy. They picked up small stones that glowed faintly and threw them. The stones produced tiny sparks in the air, confusing the drone's sensors. Ethan's mouth dropped open. He had never seen such natural energy stones. As the drone tried to stabilize, one guardian leaped high, much higher than Ethan thought possible, and slammed a wooden pole into its side. The drone spun, sparks flying, and crashed into a bush. The forest became silent. Then the creatures heard something Ethan didn't. Steps, heavy steps. They pointed south. Ethan followed their direction. Dust rose behind the trees. Someone or something approached. The elder motioned for Ethan to hide. He crouched behind a fallen log as tall aliens entered the village clearing. They wore smooth helmets and dark armor. Their eyes were covered by tinted visors. They carried long metal rods that hummed with energy. Ethan's heart pounded. These were the invaders from the paintings. The aliens scanned the area, but the small creatures curled into balls, humming softly. Their humming lowered their pulse and body heat. The alien scanners detected nothing unusual. The leader alien tapped a wrist device. No life forms detected. Continue searching. Their language was strange, but Ethan's suit auto-translated they were hunting. After several tense minutes, they left. Ethan exhaled slowly. His hands shook, the creatures uncurled. One guardian touched Ethan's arm gently to calm him. "You are protecting yourselves by acting harmless," Ethan whispered. The elder creature approached Ethan and pointed at his mouth. It hummed short rhythms. Ethan didn't understand, then slowly, the creature moved its lips. "Stay safe." Ethan froze. The word echoed in his ears. It was human language, clear and steady. One guardian looked upset at the elder, shaking its head, but the elder raised a paw, calming them. Ethan's mind went blank. His throat felt dry. "You spoke," Ethan whispered. "You can speak." The elder closed its eyes and hummed again. "We learn. Watch, listen." Tears filled Ethan's eyes. He had dreamed of discovering intelligent alien life, but never like this. "You talk like us, but you choose to stay silent," Ethan said quietly. The elder nodded. Silence. Safe, Ethan understood. Speaking revealed intelligence. Intelligence brought danger. "Why help me?" he asked. The elder pointed to Ethan's camera footage device. "You'd show truth." Ethan felt honored. "I want to help you too." The elder looked toward the forest again. "Danger, return." The humming grew urgent. Ethan put away his equipment. He understood the message. He needed to go back to camp and warn Commander Elise. Humans had landed on a planet with hidden life, and hostile hunters still roaming. As Ethan left the village, the creatures walked beside him, silently escorting him until the forest thinned. Before parting, the elder spoke again, weaker this time. "Friend." Ethan's eyes watered. "Friend?" He returned to his rover quickly. The creatures watched until he disappeared behind the trees. Back at camp, Ethan rushed into the command tent. "Elise, we are not alone here. There are aliens hunting intelligent life." Elise stared. "Slow down, Ethan. What happened?" Ethan showed video recordings of the drones, the wooden village, and the tall armored aliens. The entire room fell silent. Dr. Harris whispered, "They look organized and dangerous." Elise swallowed hard. "We need to contact the main colony." Prepare a secure channel. As the base scrambled, Ethan sat outside, staring into the dark forest. Among the shadows, he saw amber eyes watching softly. He smiled. "You spoke today," he whispered. "The galaxy will change because of that." The eyes blinked once in reply, then vanished into the trees. The next morning, Ethan woke with a sense of urgency. Last night's events replayed in his mind. The creatures speaking, the armored aliens, and the secret village hidden deep within Blue Eden. He knew he could not ignore what he had discovered. Today he would return to the southern forest, but this time he had a plan. He would bring tools, recording devices, and extra supplies to gather as much information as possible. As he walked toward the forest, 8 creatures appeared at the edge of camp. Their amber eyes glowed softly and they hummed quietly. Ethan stopped. "I'm ready," he whispered. One of them stepped forward and motioned for him to follow. Ethan nodded and followed their silent guidance. The path was familiar now, yet the forest felt different this morning. The sunlight streamed through thick branches, creating patterns on the ground like a moving puzzle. The creatures moved with grace, weaving between roots and vines as if the forest itself were guiding them. After 20 minutes, they reached the wooden stone village. Ethan noticed something new. Faint smoke spiraled from a hut's roof. Someone or something was awake and working. The creatures glanced at each other, then at Ethan. One tapped its paw on his chest lightly, a signal to stay calm. Ethan stepped closer, observing quietly. The creatures led him to the central hut where the elder awaited. Its amber eyes seemed older, wiser, filled with knowledge that spanned generations. It motioned for Ethan to follow. Inside, the hut was larger than he had realized. There were small tools, woven baskets, and polished stones arranged in careful patterns. Ethan's eyes widened as he noticed tiny carvings on the walls, sequences of shapes, spirals, and stick figures depicting battles, cooperation, and celebrations. "They record history," Ethan whispered to himself. The elder tapped the carvings lightly. Then it pointed toward the forest. Ethan understood. The carvings were not only stories, they were lessons for the young. Suddenly, movement appeared at the edge of the clearing. Ethan froze. A group of tall aliens in dark armor emerged. Their helmets reflected sunlight, hiding their expressions. They carried long rods that hummed with energy. The creatures reacted immediately. They circled Ethan, forming a protective barrier. The elder approached the intruders calmly. One of the armored aliens raised its hand, scanning the area. The creatures hummed, a low, resonant sound vibrating in the clearing. The alien's device flickered, failing to detect life signals accurately. Ethan realized something important. The creatures had evolved not only to hide, but also to protect. They were experts at camouflage and misdirection. The alien leader looked around suspiciously, but the creatures held their positions perfectly. After a tense minute, the aliens moved on, leaving the village unharmed. Ethan exhaled slowly. "You saved yourselves. And me." The elder approached him. It tapped his chest, then its own, and finally pointed toward a cluster of huts deeper in the forest. Ethan understood. There was more to this civilization than he had seen. He followed the creatures carefully. As they moved, Ethan noticed the structures were larger and more sophisticated than expected. Small bridges connected tree platforms, forming a network that stretched across several tall trees. Energy stones were embedded in the platforms, producing a soft glow that illuminated the village even under the dense canopy. "They are advanced," Ethan whispered. "Way beyond what we imagined." The elder led him to a large circular platform in the center of the tree village. There, Ethan saw dozens of creatures of varying sizes all working together. Some were weaving fiber into strong ropes. Others arranged glowing stones into patterns, while young ones practiced shaping wood and carving symbols. Every action seemed purposeful, organized, and meaningful. Ethan realized this civilization had survived by combining intelligence, art, and cooperation. They had built a hidden world where danger from the outside could not reach them. One of the younger creatures approached Ethan, holding a small carved disc. It handed it to him. On its surface, shapes were etched, spirals, stars, and stick figures that seemed to form a story. Ethan studied it carefully. "These are lessons," he whispered. "They teach their young to survive, to cooperate, to stay safe." The elder stepped forward and tapped Ethan's chest again. Then it pointed to the disc and hummed a sequence of tones. Ethan's suit recorded the sounds. He had a feeling these tones were part of their language, a combination of music, rhythm, and meaning. Suddenly, a faint vibration passed through the platform. The Elder's ears twitched. Ethan looked around, heart racing. Another group of armored aliens appeared at the edge of the clearing, moving faster than before. This time, they seemed ready to attack. The Elder tapped a sequence on a nearby stone, sending a faint pulse through the energy stones. Ethan watched in awe as the village reacted. Platforms shifted slightly, creating barriers. Small bridges rose and lowered to block entry points. The creatures organized themselves into defensive positions, each knowing its role perfectly. Ethan grabbed his recorder and filmed everything. He realized humans had underestimated what this species was capable of. The aliens advanced, unaware that the village had prepared for them. Glowing stones were thrown into the air, producing sparks that disrupted the alien sensors. The younger creatures joined in, moving quickly, coordinated like a single organism. Ethan could not believe his eyes. These creatures, which looked small and simple, were defending their home with precision and strategy. One elder creature leaped high, knocking a scanning device from an alien's hand. The alien stumbled, surprised. Another guardian blocked a narrow bridge, forcing the invaders into a trap where several energy stones flashed. Confusing their vision, Ethan whispered, "They are incredible." The invaders finally retreated, realizing they could not penetrate the village without risking serious damage. The creatures calmed, and the young ones cheered softly with humming sounds. Ethan felt honored to witness this display of intelligence and courage. After the danger passed, the elder approached Ethan and tapped his chest again. Then it pointed to the carvings on the wall, as if urging him to learn their history more deeply. Ethan nodded. He spent the next few hours with the creatures, observing their culture. He saw how they taught the young to cooperate, build, and understand patterns. He saw them arrange food, energy stones, and tools not randomly, but with order and meaning. They were creating not just survival, but a thriving civilization hidden from the galaxy's dangers. Ethan asked the elder, "Why did you hide? Why not reach out sooner?" The elder tapped his chest gently and hummed. Then it pointed to the southern horizon and tapped again. Ethan understood. Danger had always been near. Other aliens tried to control them in the past. Silence and hiding had been the only way to survive. Ethan recorded everything in his notebook. His hands shook with excitement. Humanity had discovered an intelligent species, peaceful yet capable of defending themselves in ways humans could not imagine. Before leaving, the elder tapped Ethan's chest one last time and spoke softly in his language. "You, friend, protect." Ethan nodded, feeling a bond forming. "I will protect you." The creatures escorted him back to the forest edge. He turned back once, seeing the village glowing softly among the trees. It was a secret world, full of life, knowledge, and power, hidden from the eyes of invaders and humans alike. As Ethan returned to camp, he realized something profound. Humans had always assumed intelligence could be measured by size, shape, or appearance. Here, small creatures had proven humans wrong. They had survived, thrived, and protected their civilization using patience, observation, and strategy. Commander Elise met him at the rover. "Everything okay?" she asked cautiously. Ethan shook his head, still in awe. "You don't understand. It's not just intelligence. It's culture, strategy, and survival combined. They are remarkable." Elise studied him carefully. "We will need to report this. The main colony needs to know about this species." Ethan hesitated. "Not yet. If the wrong people know, they could destroy this place." Elise paused, realizing the truth. "You're right. Keep it safe. Document everything, but keep it hidden for now." Ethan nodded. He knew the responsibility he carried. Humanity had a chance to learn from these creatures, to respect them, and perhaps to build a true alliance. But it had to be done carefully. That night, Ethan sat by the river thinking about what he had seen. The forest around him hummed softly with life. Somewhere deep in the trees, amber eyes watched silently. The creatures had trusted him, and he would not betray that trust. A gentle breeze passed, carrying the faint hum of the village. It was both a warning and a promise. Ethan whispered into the night, "I will protect you, and I will help humanity understand what it means to respect true intelligence." The forest responded with soft, harmonious hums, as if acknowledging his promise. And somewhere deep within the southern woods, The Elder watched, knowing that a new chapter had begun, one where humans and the hidden civilization could finally understand each other, if only they proved worthy. Ethan woke before sunrise, the quiet hum of Blue Eden's forest still echoing in his ears. Today, he knew, would not be like the others. The armored invaders had returned yesterday, testing the creatures' defenses. Though the hidden village had repelled them, the threat remained. This time Ethan could not just observe. He had to act. He packed extra equipment, sensors, drones for scouting, and his recording devices. 8 furry creatures appeared at the edge of the camp, their amber eyes glowing softly in the early light. The Elder was among them, standing taller than the rest, calm but alert. "We're ready," Ethan whispered. The creatures nodded and motioned him to follow. They led him along the familiar path to the southern village, moving silently and efficiently through the thick foliage. Birds with crystal-like wings scattered as they passed, adding bursts of color to the green forest. Ethan watched closely. Every movement of the creatures was deliberate, coordinated, and precise. Upon reaching the village, Ethan noticed subtle changes. New energy stones had been arranged along the tree platforms, their glow forming protective patterns. The younger creatures practiced formations, learning to work together seamlessly. The Elder approached Ethan and spoke softly in his language. "Danger comes again." Ethan swallowed hard. "We'll be ready." The creatures led him to the central platform where a quick council seemed to begin. Humming and taps exchanged among them created a rhythm, a strategy in motion. Ethan could sense the intelligence and planning flowing among them, far beyond what humans had imagined. Soon, in the distance, the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against earth grew louder. The invaders were coming, faster, larger, more organized. Ethan's heart raced. He turned to the Elder, who nodded firmly. Today, humans and the creatures would act as one. The clearing transformed into a battleground of strategy. Ethan watched as small glowing stones were launched into the air, producing bursts of light that confused the invaders' scanners. Young creatures darted quickly between platforms, placing traps made from energy stones that produced flashes when triggered. Bridges shifted to block paths, forcing the armored aliens into narrow corridors. Ethan realized he had underestimated them. They were not just survivors, they were defenders of their world, brilliant strategists, and masters of camouflage. He activated a drone to assist from above, giving the creatures a visual of the approaching enemies. The drone's lights reflected off the leaves, revealing the invaders' positions without giving away the village. Ethan noted every detail, their formations, speed, and coordination. The Elder tapped a rhythm against a central stone, a signal. Immediately, creatures split into groups. Some took positions to distract, others to defend, and the Guardians focused on key points of the village. Every move was precise, calculated, and effective. The armored invaders advanced, expecting easy conquest. But the forest itself seemed to rise against them. Glowing stones flashed like lightning, energy barriers shifted, and creatures leaped with agility no human could match. The invaders stumbled, confused by the coordinated defense. Ethan could not help but whisper, "They are incredible." One Guardian leapt onto a platform, throwing a luminous stone that landed perfectly on an alien scanner, short-circuiting it. Another used vines like ropes to swing and block the enemy's path. The young ones, following orders, darted across the bridges, distracting the invaders with precise movements. The aliens regrouped, realizing their attack was failing. Ethan knew they needed a decisive move. He turned to the Elder. The creature tapped his chest and then gestured toward the outer forest, a plan forming in his mind. Together, Ethan and the creatures set a clever trap. He used his drone to simulate movement deeper in the woods, drawing the invaders into a false direction. Meanwhile, the creatures shifted platforms and bridges to create a maze of obstacles. When the invaders pursued the false signal, they found themselves trapped within a series of narrow corridors lined with flashing energy stones, giving the village's defenders the advantage. The strategy worked flawlessly. The invaders, frustrated and disoriented, retreated from the village. Sparks flew, scanners malfunctioned, and the creatures' coordinated hums echoed through the trees as a victory chant. Ethan could hardly contain his amazement. He had never witnessed teamwork like this. Small, seemingly fragile creatures outmaneuvering a larger, better-equipped force with intelligence and precision. After the battle, the creatures calmed. The village returned to a state of quiet organization. Young creatures resumed their lessons, shaping wood and arranging glowing stones. Energy stones were checked and replaced, ensuring the village's defenses were ready for any future attack. Ethan knelt near the elder. "You saved your world?" "And mine too," he whispered. The elder tapped Ethan's chest, then pointed toward the sky. He understood. There was still more danger elsewhere. But for now, Blue Eden was safe. "You speak more," Ethan said softly. "Can you teach me more?" The elder nodded. Its eyes glowed warmly. It tapped a sequence of rhythms against the stone platform, producing soft musical tones. Ethan listened carefully, recording everything. Each tap and hum was more than sound. It carried meaning, strategy, and emotion. He realized the creature's language was built for survival, teaching, and coordination. Hours passed. Ethan learned more about their culture. He discovered that their carvings recorded history, their energy stones stored patterns of knowledge, and their architecture reflected centuries of evolution, balancing safety, sustainability, and beauty. Every aspect of their civilization had purpose and intelligence. Ethan realized humanity had much to learn from them, not just about survival, but about cooperation, respect, and strategic thinking. Evening arrived, painting the sky with shades of violet and gold. Ethan walked to the river near camp, reflecting on what he had seen. The creatures had chosen him as a friend, an ally, and perhaps a bridge between their world and humanity. He whispered softly, "You trusted me. I will not betray that trust." From the forest, he noticed amber eyes watching him, not threatening, watchful, protective, curious. The elder approached, speaking gently, "Friend, keep promise and protect. Share wisely." Ethan nodded, understanding the responsibility. "I will protect you. And when the time comes, humans will learn to respect your knowledge and wisdom." The elder tapped Ethan's hand softly, a gesture of approval. Then it vanished into the trees with the other creatures. Back at the base, Ethan reported what he could, carefully omitting the village's exact location. He spoke of the creatures' intelligence, their cooperative strategies, and the lessons humanity could learn. Commander Elise and the researchers listened in astonishment. "This changes everything," Elise said quietly. "We've underestimated what life in the galaxy can achieve." Ethan nodded. "They are peaceful. They only fight to protect themselves. But their intelligence, it's unlike anything we have seen." Elise looked thoughtful. "We need to ensure this knowledge is respected. If humans exploit them, we could destroy what took them centuries to build." Ethan agreed. "I will do everything I can to protect them. They are our allies now, whether anyone else realizes it or not." As days passed, Ethan continued visiting the hidden village, learning more about the creatures' culture and language. He taught them basic human tools, and they taught him advanced strategies for problem-solving, observation, and coordination. Together, they developed ways to predict danger, improve defenses, and study the planet efficiently. Through this alliance, Ethan realized something profound. True strength did not come from size, weapons, or dominance. It came from intelligence, cooperation, and respect. The creatures' survival and their civilization proved that even the smallest beings could shape history. Blue Eden had given humanity an important lesson. Intelligence was not always obvious, and true allies could be found in the most unexpected forms. Months later, Ethan looked over the village from a high platform, the amber eyes of the creatures watching him warmly. The armored invaders had not returned, and the village thrived in its hidden, protected environment. Ethan whispered to himself, "You are more than friends. You are teachers. You have shown humanity a new path." The elder tapped Ethan's chest one last time before vanishing among the trees, a silent promise between them. And in that moment, Ethan understood fully. The galaxy had changed, not because of humans alone, but because humanity had learned to recognize and respect intelligence wherever it existed. The creatures of Blue Eden were no longer just silent observers. They were allies, teachers, and symbols of what true civilization could achieve. Ethan smiled, feeling hope for the future, not just for humans, but for all beings capable of learning, cooperating, and surviving together. The sun set over Blue Eden, painting the forest with golden light. The creatures returned to their homes, the village glowing softly in the twilight, and for the first time, Humanity had allies that would help it see the universe in a completely new way.